Start with the pain. Find out through discovery. Once you qualify that they're the right decision maker and the right storyteller, talk about their pain. Identify their pains and identify the ones in a way that impact their short term and long term goals, what they want to accomplish. That's really the number one focus when you start the sales cycle with a new prospect or a current customer. Focus on the pain.
Welcome, everyone, to the 1% Hedge podcast. Here we have the privilege of meeting amazing guests and having great conversations about their journeys to getting 1% better every day. And I'm sorry to start with a little hiccup, but Mike had me laughing before we got going, so it'll be a good day. Today, we're talking about leveraging a value-based selling approach across the entire sales funnel, all in an effort to scale and grow the business. And to help us out with that topic today, we got Mike Hohner, who's go-to-market sales advisor at Maximus Horizons, and whose tagline is a disruptive technology sales leader. Welcome, Mike.
Carlos, good to see you today. Thank you.
All right. So, hey, let's go back a step. What do you mean by a value-based selling approach, in your own words?
It's just really focusing on the customer experience first and foremost. Really, the only reason they're wanting to talk to you is based on what they need for a problem to be solved, and also beyond the problem to be solved, what do they want to do next? Whether that's build something new or go after a new opportunity to grow their business and drive up performance of their business. So the way I measure value is based on them to make it real simple is make them happy. The way to make them happy is based on measurable results. That's it.
All right, I love that. Mike Sinek, is it Mike Sinek? He has this whole book. He has multiple books, but one of them was Getting to Why. And in there, let me make sure, Mike, I got this right. In his thing, he talks about, look, it's not about what we do and how it works. It's really about why should I care? And that
hmm
kind of sounds like your whole definition of value-based selling approach. Why should I care? What am I going to get out of this? What impact is it going to have for me and my business? Do I have it correct?
That is correct. That is correct. Because you got to focus on their why to tell them about your why it matters to them to listen to what you have to say to change their point of view or to introduce them to a new offering that they've never seen before that's going to really make a difference. That's basically it.
Perfect. Now, along those same lines, so many businesses create, let's call it amazing tech, and all they want to do is talk about the tech. I literally have heard founders like, hey, get to the demo as soon as possible, show them the product. They're going to be amazed. And that might work for some early adopters, right? The whole crossing the chasm kind of thought process. But sooner or later, I think you got to get to value. What would be your advice to companies like that? They're really proud of the tech they created to a fault almost.
Stop using jargon when you talk about your tech. Just talk about. I'll give you a good example it's a little bit outdated, but it's really quite good. Steve Jobs walked up to a podium and talked about, look at this great hard drive that I have in my hand. It's called an iPod. And I can tell you about it having 5 gigabytes and this and that, but nobody really cares. It's really having 5,000 songs in your back pocket. So he translated the technology into the end result of having the customer experience focused on wanting more music, more songs in their back pocket, and more than they probably even need. So that's really kind of the focus. You want to focus less on the tech story, more about the end result of using that tech to solve a problem, whatever that problem might be. And then you want to talk about the outcome of that, what that means to the customer and the customer experience of using your tech. Too many people show up with a lot of jargon, a lot of features, function, benefits, story pitches, but that's really not the best way to start the eye opener, which is really talk about the end result of them buying from you based on solving a need and also the end result. It could be as simple as more revenue, less cost, less risk, higher quality, and more importantly, what's that going to do to and make them more effective as a business leader in their community? how they meet to how they reach out to their customers, how they reach out to their suppliers, how they run their operation in a much more efficient, agile way. That's what they care about. They care less about the tech, more about the results. That's really about it.
All right, Mike. Now you've seen a lot of different companies kind of go through this transition. Where would you start? Like when you think about the entire go-to-market cycle, I mean, where do I start this? Let's call it transition, right, to
Yeah.
being a more value-based focused approach. Where do I start that journey?
Start with the pain. Find out through discovery. Once you qualify that they're the right decision maker and the right storyteller, talk about their pain. Identify their pains and identify the ones in a way that impact their short term and long term goals, what they want to accomplish. That's really the number one focus when you start the sales cycle with a new prospect or a current customer. Focus on the pain.
Okay, so let me take a step back a second too. As you can tell, I'm a slow learner. When you say they, I'm assuming this is their ICP, right? Their ideal customer profile. Some organizations even struggle with that. It's they're all over the place. We have great tech. What do what would you like me to solve for whom? And I kind of feel like you got to at least have some examples, case studies, scenarios of an ideal ICP, and like you said, their pains,
Mhm.
what's going on in their business so that you could impact those and have an impact for them at the end of the day, which is value. What do I mean, what advice would you have companies that really struggle with having that focus on a few ICPs that really matter?
Well, you want to talk about how you've helped somebody else, and you want to tell a story. Call it a case study, but not really. Just tell a short story. This was what someone in your industry sector experienced. They're just like you. They experienced this problem, and we helped them change their point of view on how to attack the problem and remove the barriers to success. The way we did this was this. Would you be open to hearing more about it? So you really get them tweaked about hearing a story about what we've had in the past with another customer or referenceable customer. You don't really dwell too much about it. You talk about what you did with them as an example, then you go back and bring it back to them because don't spend too much time on the reference or the customer case study because they'll get lost. They'll
Right.
start meandering and so on. So you want to always bring it back. Once you hook them, you want to bring them back to their focus, which is their company, their experience, their problem, their pain, and their goal. That's what I've seen works the best.
I'm smiling because one of my favorite things to do as a keynote at a sales kickoff is this whole value-based storytelling competition. And I describe it like you did, like, hey, I worked with a customer like you, similar role, similar industry. They were in this situation, business situation,
Right,
and in working with them, we uncovered a number of challenges, such as this and this pain point, right?
right,
They rolled out our technology, and that's all I say about that part. And these are the outcomes that they achieved. I'm curious, Michael, are you having similar challenges? What's going on in your business? And it's a great way to kind of build that trust and rapport off the bat and get them to experience it through a story, which I think are the best way to sell anyway, right? People get
right.
emotional through stories. They don't get emotional when you talk about feature function.
Correct. Very correct. In fact, they get bored.
They do,
You lose them eventually.
you
Um,
Yeah, you do. It's funny. I just did this workshop. One of the guys goes, one of the hardest things that I just learned was, I asked those initial open ended questions about their problems, their pain points, and I got to stop myself going, I can fix that. Let me show you how. Warm up the demo. And I go, yeah, discovery is to learn about them, not
mhm,
for you to demo what you got. Let's
correct.
earn the right to do that based on what we learned from those initial discovery kind of conversations. All right.
Hmm.
So Mike, when I talk to organizations and they want to pivot to this value based approach, um, one of the problems is, let's go back to the products that we design. Sometimes companies design products because it's cool tech, but
Yeah.
they do not have the ultimate buyer or buyers in mind, in their pain points, in their outcomes. Is that a good place to start?
Yeah, it could be. It's at the end of the day, they want to talk about themselves. So you really want to focus on helping them kind of showcase their story. You ask them to tell a story is what I always found. Tell me a story about a life in a day of resolving some of your pains and ones you're struggling with, and get them to open up. So the best way to do that is through both direct questions and indirect questions to get them to open up and be comfortable and interview them. At the end of the day, it's an interview. You're interviewing them, they're interviewing you.
And,
It's a mutual conversation, much like this one here. So,
and you're talking about when you got that prospect or possible customer in front of you.
mhm.
All right. Um,
Or even on phone, the old-fashioned way is the phone, the new-fashioned Zoom or Teams or WebEx or other items out there like Google Meet. So,
all right, let me pivot for a second. Do you have a preference? Because this has been kind of a little bit of a hot topic for me, and I'll explain the background.
right.
Um, let's just face it. Let's say our generation.
Mhm.
Hey, meet people face to face, create relationships, connect with them. These days, we're like, okay, do it over Zoom or whatever video platform you like, but have video on. Look at their facial impressions, see how they're connecting, reacting to your questions.
Yeah.
However, I question myself. I go, there are millennials and Gen Zers, and there's this other generation that's used to not wanting to have conversations. Don't feel comfortable like this. And are now becoming our primary buyers. They're becoming the majority of our buyers. Any advice, Mike, on, how do we become better communicators with multiple generations in the workforce that want maybe different modalities for
Mhm.
connectivity?
That's a good question, a good commentary about, the challenges out there because um and sometimes you don't want to always some of the Gen Zs, the newer generation of management and people that are hitting their first stride as first level and second level management. A lot of them really don't even want to do anything but text. That's a good example.
Correct.
So their preference is text. So you got to get very comfortable with that as well. So you got to really identify what their preference is for hearing what they want to do, which is talk about their story to hear your story. I find that the best example to do that is in front of them, either at a meeting or a trade show or a conference, or go to their offices. That is old school, but it's really very, very effective to get just 25 minutes their time to do that. The new technologies like video meetings and so on, you want to keep it very lively and interactive because you don't want to have you don't want to do death by PowerPoint slides. You want to just have a conversation much like this. A lot of people show up with a deck in the first one or two calls, and really they don't, they may like a deck to have as a leave behind, but they really don't want that. They want to just connect with you and talk, is what I found. So you got to be very careful about leveraging the presentation deck, um, especially with video, especially with that. And then with telephone, I often found that sometimes they just want to do a telephone call as well. So ask them, would you prefer a phone or video? And most time they'll say, well, just phone. Um, and I've done that many times where they just want to go back to phone. And there's a couple different reasons. They might be driving, they might be mobile, they might be virtual, and they don't want to really show their background in their office like mine with a bookcase and a guitar in the back and so on. So there's a variety of different reasons why they want to go phone. So that's what I've done in the past 5 years or so with the new age of video.
Yeah, the it's funny you say, because what I try to do when I get a new lead or a new connection with someone, I'll go, hey, great, love to meet you. Can we start with just a 30-minute introduction call?
Hmm.
Uh, you know, and even when we get on the call, I get, sometimes they're like, yeah, Carl, tell me what you do. And hey, I'd be happy to. In fact, but can we just say, hey, I'd like to know more about you and your business, and what's working and what's not, and then we'll spend 15 minutes, and then hey, I'm happy to spend 15 minutes on me and what I do and the customers I help. Who wants? Do you want to go first? You want me to go first? Shockingly, it seems like 9 times out of 10, they always want to go first, and I'm good with it. And
Yeah.
I like it. And then the one little thing I try to tell people is, but keep track of time.
Hmm.
Once you hit 15 minutes or so, I don't mean to interrupt them, but be like, hey, Mike, this has been fantastic. And I'd love to know even more, but I promise you that we'd break this up. Do you want to share some more? Maybe we could talk about me on the next call, or do you want to pivot at this point? And I try to be respectful of it. And again, I'm probably 50-50 there. A lot of times they go, yeah, we can let's have another call about that. I really want to finish my thoughts on what I'm seeing in my business and what's really important to me. And I think that's fantastic. So we just spent, a half hour learning about them, their businesses, their challenges, what's working, what's not. And from that comes opportunities where I might be able to help them in different areas. And they want to have that second call versus me chasing them.
Very good. That's true. That is true.
Right. And
Glad to hear that.
the folks that jump right into, well, let me tell you about me and our organization and what we do. I feel like it's a trap. Yes, we're gonna get there, but
Mhm.
let's find out a little bit more about each other first and the situations that we have before you start. And I hate this word, pitching them. What do you think about that?
True. Yeah, yeah, it's like as if you were gonna meet somebody in an elevator. It's the old elevator pitch. If you do have to do a pitch, it needs to be an elevator pitch, and that's really less than 45 to 60 seconds. This is what we do. This is what we find, and this is how we work. And that's all they want to hear. They want to hear something very 1, 2, 3. That's it. And then if they have any more interest, then they'll say, "Well, let's talk more about this." That's what I found. So I don't like doing too many long pitches when they ask, because at the end of the day, they want to know who you are, what you do, who do you work with, and then what's next. So I keep it very simple for that, and that's going to generally be less than 1 minute. So what I find is that they want to talk about themselves more. They want to say, "Well, this is who we are. Do you know?" And then they want to find out, how much do you know about our business, our industry sector, my company? Have you done your homework? Who do you know in my company? What do you know about have you reviewed our annual report? They want to know just how prepared you are sometimes. And I find that if you don't come back to them and say, well, yeah, I actually know somebody at your company. I read your annual report. I just looked at it this morning. And also, by the way, I was kind of alarmed by this situation that's come up for a need for more automation, leveraging artificial intelligence. And that's really interesting to me because that's what we do. And I want to talk about that a little bit more. So and then but you bring it back to them. What do you think about artificial intelligence based on your annual report? What's your point of view? So you ask those kind of questions, and they start talking, then give you opportunities to basically help them. At the end of the day, they want to be helped. That's why they took the call or want to talk to you because they think maybe you can help them.
I love that, especially as I talk to people, even outside of sales, that have to connect with our customers, our prospects. I go, folks, don't think of it as the reason for the meeting is to sell them, because
Yeah.
nobody wants to be sold, right? If you truly have amazing tech, amazing services, an amazing organization, think of it, to your word, helping them. I'm here to help. But I don't know if I can help you specifically until I understand a little bit more about your situation. It's kind of like
Correct.
the old doctor analogy. They don't walk in going, you're definitely sick. Let's replace the leg. They,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? You don't sit there and go, hey, doc, you tell me what's wrong. You're the expert. You allow them to ask you questions. And
Correct.
through that creates trust in their diagnosis, right?
Hmm.
So before they prescribe, they diagnose the situation, they kind of figure it out. I think in business, we need to do that more. Now, here's a little step that I'll get people to think about that and practice it. And you mentioned doing research, and
Hmm.
sooner or later, there's always one in every workshop I do. Well, wait a minute. You want me to prepare questions for this meeting I'm going to be having, but I don't know their business. I don't know what they're going on. I haven't even met with them yet. And I go, exactly. This
Yeah.
is why you prepare. I mean, if you don't prepare, you're going to come up with those lazy ass questions like, what keeps you up at night, which I hate.
Nobody wants to hear that.
I mean, it's such an
No, no,
overused
no, I've had
question.
a customer make fun of me one time when I said that at a younger age. He said, "My wife keeps me up at night." What do you mean? What keeps you at night? Okay, that's too personal. Okay, let me ask you.
When people ask me that question these days, I go, you know what keeps me up late? Lazy ass salespeople that won't spend the time and energy to actually research me and my business before they meet with me. And when I try to tell folks is, look, do you know who you're meeting with? Yes. Do you know their title? Yes. Do you know where they work? Yes. Do you know their industry? Yes. What more do you need? I mean, especially these days, go on whatever your favorite AI tool is. And I just did this recently for a private company I was meeting with. I picked them and their top three competitors. I told AI to look at all three websites and the latest, media news and help me understand what are their top 10 challenges that they're having in their industry. Not only did it come back with specific ones, it gave me sources for each one. Like this company mentioned this, that company mentioned the other. So now I was much better able to have an educated conversation with someone.
And that took less than seconds and minutes to get that
Correct. It's so
to
much.
do that.
It's like I'm talking about when I say research. I'm not talking about writing a dissertation on a company. Can you
Right.
spend 5 or 10 minutes?
Right. With AI, it's a lot faster to get that information for sure. A lot faster, less than
I spend more time reading it.
yeah,
To just
exactly.
try to make sure I absorb it and is it right? And I might ask some more questions. I might look at the sources. I don't blindly accept it.
Hmm.
And that's what I feel like takes a little bit of time to kind of do it. The one last thing about research and being prepared, Mike, and I love your opinion on this. I tell folks you don't necessarily have to be right, and what I mean by it is, hey, I was just listening to your analyst call. I heard your CEO talk about your top three initiatives for the year, and I love to talk to you about how are those impacting you? Are those driving change? Are those even your top priorities? And
Right.
sometimes they'll go, no, I mean, those are his or hers. For me, it's all about this. But the fact that I did do the research, even though it may not be exactly their big business drivers or business issues,
Hmm.
gains me credibility. What do you think?
I absolutely. You got to come. I mean, they know that what they really expect is not get 100% right on your research because part of their meeting is to validate new information that was missing on the research. But they expect you to be at least two-thirds of the way into the research, so they don't have to waste time and retell the same story to the next salesperson. They really don't like doing that. So you got to appreciate their time is going to be focused on what you is the uncut, the story behind the story is what you expect them to give you. It's like, this is the story I've been able to get from people as well as research, but I believe there's a story behind that story, and I think it's your story. Tell me that story. And they go, yeah, there is a story. And then, then they tell you what they probably shouldn't even tell you sometimes until you develop that trust. But sometimes you'll be surprised that they'll share with you, the reason why they're in pain. And it's based on something either related to what you sell or something you can help them with, or even not related, but maybe with the ecosystem partner as well. That's where the deal sizes get bigger when you take that approach with people to do the research, but to ask for the extra amount of information that's their story. Then they start giving you opportunity to sell your stuff as well as your partner's stuff as well.
Yeah,
So
that's a good,
uh,
I like that story behind the story aspect of it. Uh, it's interesting because it's also in talking to people, you're doing research and you're showing that you're also listening in communications. I try to tell folks there's two parts of it. Yes, you're going to ask questions and be curious about them and their business. The other part of it is you got to listen. And
yeah.
so whatever they do tell you, how are you showing that you're listening within the interaction, but
Mm.
even after the call? Is your next step, follow up email just, Mike, when's our next meeting? Or is it, hey, Mike, here's some of the highlights from our conversation. Did I get those right? And I'm really looking forward to continuing this conversation. And now here's our next step, right?
Right. Right. Some of that depends on the chemistry of the meeting itself. If it's a great chemistry and you can drive a call to action where you're really kind of leading them to the next meeting, that's great. Or if the chemistry is kind of what I would call lukewarm, not yet red hot, then I take a more of approach is asking them what they think they want to do. Let them lead the next step. Ask them, what would you like to do? To explore this more. And also, perhaps I bring maybe you bring a person to help us open up the conversation. I bring another person as well. We can really dive in a little bit more deeper. And if you give them an opportunity to set the stage, especially if they carry the title of director, vice president, and in a mid-sized company, even C-level. Then they can appreciate that you're letting them to be the leader to some extent, because at the end of the day, they're the leader of their business if you're calling at the right level with a top-down design of account development. So, with bottom-up development, with contacting SMEs or subject matter experts, then you want to take more of the ownership to elevate the relationship up toward management level. This depends on your account focus and how you engage in a new account or grow an account. So I've done both ways.
Excellent. All right. Hey, I could talk to you all day, Mike. For our audience, tell me a little bit about yourself, a little about your background.
I have about well, I live in Dallas, Texas. Number one, not a Texas native. I'm originally from Indiana, Midwest, so I still retain my Midwest sound, that broadcaster sound, maybe some people call it. But I don't. I refuse to say. I reckon. I haven't said that in a long time. I don't do the colloquialisms of Texas, so I'm still Midwestern. I've been in the industry of software for about 25 years, in a variety of different areas of business development, sales, account management, strategic account development, alliance partner management. Then before that, even before my software industry experience, I was in consulting services where I was an IT and management consultant, all the way up to the practice director level with a P&L and also a revenue tag to grow the practice as well, championing mostly strategy assessments and workshops driving toward before and after focus for assessments with both CIOs as well as COOs. So I have a kind
Mhm.
of a blended background looking both at the management discussion for consultative selling, but also the technology side with software and technology as well. So that's me in an overall nutshell. And a long time ago, I did go to college with a degree in computer science, and I call it my engineering background, where I actually was a software design engineer at one time. So I'm able to use the methodology approach to talk to technical people, whether they're IT people or engineering people or people in operations even that are also very technical, to talk about kind of a work breakdown structure, linear focus, to say, well, tell me the 5 steps in how you solve this problem, and they will do that very well. But I'm also have a background in music and kind of the creative arts. So if I get with people that have more of a nonlinear focus, I'll brainstorm with them. Let's talk about this. Let's pivot over here. Talk about that. Let's go over there. And then, so you got to be kind of flexible, working with different prospects, different customers, and how they actually leverage their orientation, how they look at problems, and whether it's linear or nonlinear, or a combination of both. I've done that in my career over the last 20 plus years very effectively, and it drives a bigger footprint into their problem. It gives the opportunity to be more of a trusted advisor and partner to them as well. So that's who I am, to answer your question.
Awesome. All right. Final two questions. First one, what's that one piece of advice, be it business or personal, that you would give our audience that would help them be as successful as you have been?
Hmm. Business, I would say, you really want to plan and then execute. Just really keep it binary: plan and execute, and do. A lot of people in marketing and sales have using the words. Well, you got to grind it out. Yeah, but you got to sharpen the grind though, which is planning, and you got to then grind. Or they might say rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat. So it boils down to being a planner and then an executor of what you plan, and then be able to be agile to maybe take a new plan called the pivot. On a personal level, oh, I would say really make it fun. Look at trying to make life and work some fun, both with yourself as well as your customers, your partners, and really kind of leverage your humor, leverage your point of view, tell a joke, talk about something personal like hobbies, travel, music, rock concerts, martial arts, whatever it might be. Just make it fun.
Love that. Awesome. And if our audience would love to get to know you better and reach out to you, what's the best way for them to find you?
The best way to find me is probably on LinkedIn, and it's going to be www.linkedin.com and then Micah go to market, and that's MICHAHMICAHGTM. That's my LinkedIn address. But also they can contact me through Carlos. No,
I become your new admin.
I'll be, I'm tired of my AI. I want you to be my personal assistant. No, you can contact me. About the
Awesome.
house.
No, it's awesome. Hey, Mike, I really appreciate your insights and your time today. It's been a great conversation.
Thank you, Carlos. I've been waking up a coffee with you, so it's been a coffee time with you. Really appreciate it. I didn't see your coffee though yet. Where's your coffee?
Oh man, this is my second cup, so I got to slow down.
There we go.
I don't got to get too crazy.
Yeah, it's a good coffee talk with you. Thank you very much.
Maybe
Appreciate you.
it'll be the next podcast, Coffee Talk with Carlos.
Coffee talk.
All right, everyone.
We're gonna
That
be
does it.
with our mugs though. We're gonna get that
We're
going.
gonna get custom mugs.
Yeah.
All right, everyone. That does it for this week's episode. Please subscribe on your favorite platform. I really appreciate you, and I look forward to seeing you on our next episode.